everybody. First live for a long since it's been a long time. Let me see if I got make sure I got everything right. Make sure y'all can hear everything right. I want to make sure you guys can hear everything right too as well. And it's only me, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody. Hope you're having a great day. We better watch a video. Black men in the round table. Speaking about their the odd relationship that's going on between black men and black women in the world. It is definitely something that's been weird. I don't know why it's been happening, but it has been happening. I don't know where it came from, but it came. The change is definitely being televised. A lot of people have this conversation going in and out. Unfortunately, my algorithm has gotten a hold of it so much so that it's become a today alone I was questioning myself on why am I watching so much of this. And I'm not doubting the streamers and the podcasters and everybody who make videos in regards to these situations, but I really think that it needs to be put to rest because it is outrageous. Yeah, we understand, the male and female dynamic at this point in time has taken a dramatic twist, right? The twist is that women now are able to make their own decisions, make their own money, and they're able to, go and do what they need to do for themselves. And the majority of men in the world, their obligation to women has changed. It's the easiest way to put it, right? Now, with that being said, and with that being done, it leaves a lot of men whose sole purpose in life was to protect and provide for women in array. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that this isn't the first time in life that this has taken place. May have been in something different, such as work or a job, or taking care of the family or others, or something else. Raising a kingdom. Looking after the empire. I'm pretty sure something like this has happened before. But the only issue that's going on right now is that people are just their brains don't function at the speed that it needs to for them to realize that it's time for a change. But anyway, I'm just talking shit probably. Let's see what happens in this conversation. I'm really excited to see the conversation. I watched a little bit of it, maybe about 10 minutes or so. So I'm gonna be in and out, getting something to drink and stuff like that. Now, mind you, I do still have a cold, so I'm kind of congested. So bear with me on that. Um, I'll try to jump in here sometimes and say a couple of things, but ultimately, I want you guys to sit here and realize what needs to come into place. More importantly, fans like superstars and all tier list actors shouldn't be the ones coming up together to sit down and have these conversations. This should be happening all over America because Western civilization is where it's mainly taking place. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, so we rolling. So this the thing. We done came together. We done been brought together. We got SisterSong. SisterSong is the homies, and they are doing some 25, let's just be real, has been full of some weird shit, some fuck shit. It's been just some strange shit this year. And black people being attacked left and right, our stories, our educational institutions, our safe places, and our power. And that's my thing. I got an organization called Build Power. So I'm really about power, and it's from the legacy of the Black Power movement. And I don't think you can get any closer to power than the person who birthed it.
Right. Yes.
The black woman, right?
Yes.
A lot of the time, it's black men that stand in the way of it, right? That get in the way of, what we're supposed to be empowering, what we're supposed to be collaborating with. And so when we're thinking about things like, SisterSong is steeped in reproductive justice. And when we talk about reproductive justice, it's the human right for bodily autonomy. Now, here's the thing. you know, I get into all the academic terms and then I get confused. So we gonna get into it for real about what this means to us, what the human right to bodily autonomy, the human right to have kids, to not have kids, to parent kids in a healthy environment, to set up that environment, and what goes into that actually means to us. And I want to make sure that, you know, the way we talking about it, other people can understand it, because I know for a fact, if people came to me however many years ago and was like, hey, what you think about reproductive justice, I would have a very confused look on my face. And I'm like, I don't know exactly what that means and how we engage with it, but everybody here comes from a different perspective, a different life, a different experiences, and we want to bring that to this conversation. So I know that there's no way to get there without the empowerment of Black women and centering Black women in that power talk, in that power struggle, in that power strategy, in that movement, in our behavior. And what in y'all's eyes does that mean to you? Like, from y'all's experience, what's your connection to or experience with reproductive justice, and what does that actually mean to you? Anybody should kick in.
As a father, you fall deeply in love with parenting, right? And what that means, and understanding the responsibility that it takes. But you also learn, as a father, the mother ends up doing so much more than what you can offer sometimes, and it's just facts. You don't have breasts to feed this baby. You don't have the kind of just natural intellect to kind of carry things. That's why a lot of fathers just say, here you go, I don't know what to do, right? So I think, for one, it's just accepting that, understanding that you are there to help produce and provide, but then there's gonna be so much more that you can't, you know, provide. And so just trying to be a support system around whatever your spouse or your girlfriend at the time is choosing to do with their body. It's something that I've learned over the years, personal experiences from having to make that decision to have an abortion, you know, with your girlfriend at a young age, to end up feeling like that you didn't have a say-so in it, right? And then understanding as a man where you don't. Once you decide to go into that position and you put your seed into this woman, now that's her decision where to go. You can't say, well, I don't want no baby, or you can't have no. You should have thought about that before you saw you know, so teaching my son that, right, and understanding that you have a decision very early on in the process, but later on you don't. And if you decide to go through with it, then you need to be ready to support and provide and do the things that you need to do. So that's kind of been my learning curve over the situation. And then just feeling horrible for, as we was talking off camera, about all the women who've lost their lives in this situation and not being able to have the medicine that they need. And not only around, you know, reproduction and having babies, but even down to like fibroids, right? My wife struggles with that, and Black women not having the information that they need to figure out how to get rid of the fibroids and all those type of things. So whatever we can do to just kind of lean in and learn and listen, that's what I've been like. Same thing, if somebody would have asked me a couple years ago, I said, oh, I guess my perspective may have been different, but now we're in a time where you really just want to have a different understanding. I teach my son that, you know, and then also my daughter, you know, what decisions she has to make before she lays down with somebody, and how it can change your life, right?
So it's incumbent upon you to have that information if your desire is to be a father, is to understand the woman's point of view and the things that they go through. We think of a lot of things that we go through, our upbringing, not having a father or having a father, all our experiences, and the dream of being a father, you know, and having a son or a daughter, and what kind of father you want to be. All of that comes to mind, but before inception, those thoughts never came to me in the sense of what she would go through. You know, how would I handle being in a waiting room and being told something and not knowing the information? Who do I lean on? All those things that come to mind that happen when you're in the delivery room, or the process of having a baby or having a healthy delivery and all of that stuff. And then, you know, I think it's absolutely important for us to have these types of conversations and have these thoughts leading up into the idea and actualizing fatherhood. You know, I think we center ourselves, you know, the patriarchy of it all, we center ourselves, you know, we're the ones that make it happen. You know,
Hey, I want to say something. I was raised by women.
Right.
And I ran into some brothers a couple of years, last year, when we were running for election, who felt like Kamala couldn't lead.
Crazy.
I said, but your mother ran the house.
Right.
And my mother tragically died when I was 4, but my sister who raised me was a gangster. Could take $1 and balance the budget like in 25 minutes, $100. So I think that in order to trust Black women, we gotta kind of like, I think you and I were talking about, or no, I was talking to my driver on the way over about holding yourselves accountable. 81% of people don't talk. And Black men have to talk to the women. And a lot of the women, and it's not 81% of women, it's 81% of people don't talk. So I think it starts with a dialogue. But I can personally tell you, I can't imagine walking around with another person inside of me. And I think that we have to yield to women. And I don't think the government can tell you if you were raped. I mean, they're talking about if you were raped or molested, that you have to have that child. I don't think the government.
I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised they actually allowed them to say that word on. They allowed them to say that word online, huh? Okay.
Should have any say in that. Along with women having a choice of their bodies, we also have to teach our daughters and sons how to be responsible. Not rely on the plan B, you know, because abortion shouldn't be used just so you can all go out and have a good time.
Right.
Whether, because we walk away, you know, but women have to deal with the body, the changing your body. It's so much. I tell my girl all the time, I couldn't do it. Just having a menstrual cycle, I would say, God, can y'all let mine come like once a year? I have to pay somebody once a year, because I watch my girl go through the changes emotionally, and not just physically, but it's a lot of shit women go through. So I think men, honestly, I think men need to sit down, shut the fuck up.
Right.
It's a lot that we don't see, because if you weren't raised that way, you don't know. It's like you listening to you guys trying to be good husbands. The women gotta let us in, and we can't tell them what to do. And I think this government has to step back and let women make choices for themselves.
Women are the first wonder of the world, despite what's said. It's the first.
Now, with what he just said, I can't agree. I can't agree. The reason being is because leaving somebody to their own accord is going to cause chaos. And through chaos is going to be an issue. Now, mind you, we're still human beings, yes, of course. But ultimately, we're the United States of America. So that means should be moving at one accord. So if you're gonna sit here and let somebody or the next gender do whatever they want, it's gonna be some people are gonna look at it as you being unfair, being selfish, and being not being able to realize what you may be doing. Nowhere you're gonna be able to just be able to you're gonna be able to do whatever you want to do, male or female, right? Because men, your body isn't yours either. At the drop of a dime, a man can be subject to the draft. He can be subject to jail. He can be subject to somebody else harming them or using them to do something invalid. But at the same time, freedom and free will, you do have that to an extent, right? But everything that you do has a consequence. So it's not like you don't have that ability to do what you want. But in some things, I think more discussion is needed. You can't just say that just leave women alone and make them do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? That's going to cause an issue.
First wonder.
Exactly.
That's the only thing outside of God that I know that creates.
Yes.
First
Yes.
and foremost. The issues that we have are that the woman knows before we know whether or not life should be brought into earth, brought here, or if it should be aborted. They deserve to have that right for the simple fact of America does not allow us to run a system the way we should as a family. Men don't understand, you may be the leader, but you might not be the provider. Do you know how to lead if you are not the provider? In the midst of trying to figure it out, we coming from a whole bunch of systematic, it's been constructed for us to be the way that we are, to think that we are. That's not how it was
And
programmed.
then talk about that program I mentioned where they took they paid
Black
to take black fathers out of the
house.
home.
And then from there, me and
Right.
Cliff was talking
Right.
about that. When it started with the Section 8, women were able to take care of the kids without the man being in the house, which gave her the mindset that I can be the leader because I have to be the provider.
That's
and
true.
then after that, it was the crack epidemic, which guys started using or they was going to prison. Regardless, we stayed out of the house. Now it's social media, and the thing is, we were always here to protect the black women. And if you ever seen the movie Sparta, men were actually the leaders, but the leader knew how to lead because he still trusted the woman with the gift that God gave her, which was intuition and discernment. And if you knew how to treat your woman and she knew how to love and that stress was off her, it allowed y'all to operate as a family unit to be able to trust her so she can be able to trust you. Once you realize how powerful that woman is, a lot of us run around, and even for myself, I struggle with being monogamous because I didn't understand the value of the woman. But once you put a woman next to God, would you play with God the same way? And if you knew what you possessed as powerful, I don't think that we would run around with the promiscuous mindset of thinking it's okay because we wouldn't look at women the way that we are downplayed the thing of how they are.
So I'm gonna interject
Real quick though. I think that there's something I think that's really dope that you started with is around women being first close to God, right? Like, because
that's a fact.
And talking about creation, you know, talking about creating, talking about, because I do think people talk about the human race all the time, and it started with blah 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 blah. It started in Africa, started in Africa
with a black woman.
With a black woman, right? And so I do think the closest you could get to power, the closest you could get to life creating circumstances and is with the black woman.
First wonder, yes.
But also just want to ground us in, when we talk about reproductive justice, it's not just about birthing, right? It's not just about having a kid.
Right.
And it's about, when we talk about bodily autonomy, it's about, we all want the right to control our bodies. I don't want nobody telling me what to do with my body, right? And that is a right that expands even beyond having a kid, right? And fostering that environment to be able to raise folks. And when we talked about like the village, right? And that it takes a village to raise a kid. It wasn't like, okay, all these people on the block got a responsibility. It was actually, you understood that kid that every decision that goes into raising that kid, teaching that kid how to move, teaching that kid how to communicate, it forms their future, but it also affects everybody in the village, right? And so everybody had a responsibility to make sure that that person and the people that were raising that kid had what they needed, had the healthiest environment and things, to make sure that everyone is okay, that we all can live the life that we deserve, right? And so, I do want to also make sure that, I ain't got no kids, just so I can't talk about, the standpoint of a father, but there are fathers at this table. I also got 25 nephews and nieces. I'm unk over here, you know what I'm saying? I got unk strategy over here. But there's perspectives from all on this table from every angle of it, and I do want to go back to, and we can go wherever you wanted to go, whatever you wanted to say, but I do want to talk about that like you said, the government shouldn't be involved, keeping in mind that this is a government that was steeped in what they call white supremacy. I like to call white delusion, right? You know what I'm saying?
Thing,
It was same thing, right? And
they don't want to believe that they came from a black woman.
Yeah, and the definition.
Becky, you came from a black woman.
Well, the definition of masculinity, the definition of what we do with our bodies and how we define a government's role in that came from that corrupt standpoint, that corrupt perspective. So I 100% agree that the government shouldn't do anything about it. But where did you want to go with that?
Well, I think one of the things that I think helps, I believe, with women's right in terms of their sexual reproduction is the relationship that we have with the black man. I heard a psychiatrist when I was on one of the panels say that African American men and women are suffering from 450 years of post-slavery PTSD.
Yes.
So one of the things that I love about this thing right here The next one I want to see is black men and black women sitting down together and talking about how do we learn.
Now, see, this is where the issue comes into play, because you've seen what this has come down to in regards to having black male and black females in one room trying to discuss something. There's a sense of disarray or disorganizing that takes place, right? Because one wants to speak its mind and one wants to listen, and vice versa. So I think things like this should be more separated, and then from there, while it's separated, you get the strongest minds out of each group to come together, and then from there you have a conversation like that. I don't think it's going to work if that table gets bigger than what it is right now. It's going to be a lot of arguing, and we don't need arguing, we need reasoning. And reasoning is something that's very difficult because, again, some parties aren't listening to take in the information, they're only listening to respond, right?
To exist in peace. And I say that because I'm saying this, and a lot of times I have to catch myself. It's emotional. I grew up with a lot of violence around me. My father, when he drank, I seen him knock women. My father fight a baby. Mm-hmm. He was just off. He was mentally off from the oppression of this culture that broke him, and so we were born, a lot of us were born into that, our fathers, and we're trying to break those cycles. So somehow that ties into me to women's reproductive choices, mm-hmm. in terms of having a baby with a guy that's comes from a broken family. Now the baby coming in with a broken family, and bam, 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 and the mother's asking the father for support, and like, yo, I ain't asked you to have that motherfucking baby. That ain't shit. I don't even know if that's that motherfucker. I mean, there's so many levels to this, mm-hmm. that make women cower or not want to talk, or be the victim of, one guy shot his baby mama and the kids the other day. It's so I think we got to attack that from not just right now in this racist culture that we're seeing with this administration, but also from a generational standpoint. For sure.
I don't have the historical information, man. That's why I'm a listener, man. I'm a great listener. Mm-hmm. But when I hear, from your generation, mm-hmm. your perspective, mm-hmm. and your perspective, and everybody's perspective, in the sense that as we get into it, I feel like we let women down in that regard. We didn't stand on business. And
what you mean by that?
I just feel like we let depression wear us down. Mm-hmm. Fathers let depression wear them down and beat them down, take them out of the house, and therefore,
it's real easy to say something of this manner when you weren't the one that was going through the issues of that time. We're a lot older. And there is room to say, hey, in the past they had it harder, and in the future we can say that we have it easier. And I'm pretty sure more of the people of my generation are gonna say that about their kids as well, right? But in reality, what our grandfathers and our great grandfathers went through was very hard. And the reason because I can say that confidently is because you were told to just eat it, just bite the metal and keep going because you have something to do. Or you folded, you tried to be a man of a certain cloth, and you fold and you have nobody to help you pick you up. Or you go out here and you just slack off, and you still have nobody, no mentorship, no nothing. You don't know where to go or where to turn. So, and vice versa when it comes down to females as well. Nowadays you have advertising, brands for just psychological help. There's a lot of words that we have today that we never even knew about in the past. So many people were going through whatever they were going through in the past that we couldn't even diagnose it. That in itself is already difficult. So you can't fault them for what they didn't know. they were just only doing the best that they could, or they were just doing whatever they wanted to do in the times that they were alive in.
They forced them out of the house.
Forced them.
No, they had a program. They forced them out.
I get the.
They didn't leave the house.
I feel that. I understand that. I can't. But ain't nobody gonna make me leave my woman. I get that. I get it. But ain't nobody gonna make me leave my family.
I got you.
I get what. I understand that. I could never fathom what went on back then.
I think you might be alluding to weak ass men allowing things that might be coming up. Like, you know, like, oh, this seems like, I don't know exactly the historical presence of it either. But you know how you say, like, oh, like, you know, you stripping us from the house. Oftentimes, I'm a man who dates men. A lot of men are strong. So the way that you say you're not gonna take nobody from my family, you're not gonna strip me from my family. A lot of people don't walk with that. A lot of people don't have that. So I mean, like, it is systematic, but I mean, at the same time,
I mean, if
you
you-
somebody, I mean, you part of like the few men who is not gonna live their life like
I
that.
mean, I get a system that
So-
you live in a place
Yeah.
that is just geared to tell you you ain't shit, you ain't shit, you ain't shit.
And it beats you down.
You ain't shit, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
And it beats your other counterpart down, so y'all come home to
Madness.
beatness. Yeah. Nobody know how to heal anybody, right?
It's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of different influences that happen, whether it's drugs, right? We know that our community struggled with that for a long time.
But let's talk about them.
give it
Let's
to us,
go
though.
They
back.
give it to
Though.
us, but
But no. Let's go back and talk about the CIA putting the
but
drugs
fact.
in the
Well, that's
neighborhood.
what I was gonna say. We're in a country where drugs is probably the most highest profit of things that you want, right? But just speaking on fatherhood and being in the house and not being in the household, I think it's a lot of pressures coming from East Side, right?
Yeah.
I've looked at fathers who weren't in the household and had conversations with them and say, "Man, you've been on drugs since you was 12 years old, brother. Your brain doesn't have the capability of thinking correctly,
That's true.
right? You are afraid that you can't provide for your family, so you would rather leave, right? Not knowing that you have a woman who's willing to stay down with you and hold you down no matter what, right? So it's just as a man who, even to this day, get nervous, right? Like, oh
Yeah.
man, this shit is slowing up. Like, am I better off telling my baby and them, like, are y'all good? No, of course not, right?
Right.
But you have to be honest about yourself and say, I'm fearful of certain things, and say, and not necessarily a weakness, but necessarily it's like, I'm scared. Right, that I can't provide, and now I've either let someone else kind of tell me what I need to do, right, rather than following my own intuition and having a relationship with my ancestors in the universe, and that can really guide you, or having that one-on-one with your lady. So many things that can pull people out of the house. Similar to the conversation, it's like, well, if I was enslaved, I wouldn't have done that. It's like, well, you really don't know. So it's like, it's so many different things that go into why people do things, and sometimes, you can name it to. It's like, oh, this person was being a coward, or this person was being. But a lot of it is fear, and a lot of it is because we're the minority, and because the pressure that comes from so many other people that don't look like us. It's a lot of pressure that makes you feel that way, and then you got the people that's in your community that oppress you, right? And so as men, we do it to women, right? As men, that's the tier. We do it to women even more, right? We fall underneath that same thing. And so to your point, we got to strip that away, figure out what the issue is with that, have those conversations, understand that it's layers and layers of what it is, but also don't be like, you weak as hell.
Let's make sure that word ain't like that now.
No, I know. You wouldn't have been able to do it. You ain't been able to hold it down, but it's just like, man, it's so many, reasons why a man would leave a household, and then sometimes it's us not holding them accountable and saying, hey, look, man, you need to get your shit together. All right, you need to make sure you over there. Because now I'm sitting here playing spades with you and smoking. You ain't seen your kid 3 blocks down the street in weeks.
Right.
So no accountability. So to your point, as you was talking to your driver, let's take accountability, but then also kind of give each other a little bit of grace and understanding, especially our OGs who went through a lot, especially our guys who are coming from Vietnam, who came home to nothing and lost everything and went out there and lost their mind, saw things we can never imagine, right?
Did everything for this place. And
Did everything for this country just for them to take it away from you. And so now I say, well, fuck everybody,
That's my entry point to this conversation. I think that because I went to college and I got a master's degree in human relations, I really sat with and grappled with power and domination when it comes to like gender discrimination and when it comes to discrimination against women. So for me in this conversation, thinking about like fatherhood, I can't help but to think about the way in which I was introduced into this conversation about women's progression and how there were critiques of black women that talked about how us as men don't start thinking about this shit until we start having kids. So we start to think about how we only think about women when it's tethered to a man. Like, hey, respect her, bro. That's so-and-so little sister. Hey, respect her, bro. That's so-and-so. So it's really thinking about how us as men, in terms of accountability, we really don't even have a good transition from objectification to fatherhood because you've been a fucker for 20 years. And now you don't want to be a fucker no more. Now you want to be a father. Because we don't have that accountability to think about the like how we are taught to objectify women. And I know in our conversations it'd be like, hey, you can get respect from the homies based off how you get down on a bitch.
Yes. Yeah.
To be real. You can get capital, popularity, preference based off of how you're able to dominate and objectify other women. So then when I come into the conversation and I want to talk about progression of women, we start to have different, I'm gonna say pathology, different ways that stigma taps into it. And I think one of those is us being very critical about how we relate to women that's not related to us. Like, how do you respect women that's not your sister, that's not your mama, that's not your, you know what I'm saying, you feel me? Oh, even when we find them attractive. Like, how do you respect for those women? And I think that the conversation starts before we start thinking about fatherhood. It starts, to me, thinking about it in middle school, you know what I'm saying? But also in this conversation though, it's like, hey, so before you became a father, before you became a father, when did you think about the general welfare of women?
Well, I'm adopted, so
Interesting.
I think some of that has always been in my mind, just to what will make someone give their child up. You know, since I've always known since I was.
Now, see, now I can understand the reason why he said what he said earlier in regards to I'm not gonna just leave my child just like that. Now it plays a role in his whole way of thinking, which, just like the other guys said, he had to go down and start breaking down someone's pathology, because who you are as a person and what you believe in usually dictates how you're gonna fall. You're gonna fall in line to whatever you hear, right? And majority of the people don't realize back in the day through slavery, and even first gen, second gen, or third gen people who were free, they were running off of a belief system that was very strict, so to speak. You know, very family based, but also at the same time, you have different entities coming into wherever you were, telling you, making you, and forcing you to do other things. Now, visually, seeing somebody being put outside their house, or being taken advantage of, that leaves a scar. That's a sign. That's a type of torture, right? That's a type of torture. You know what I'm saying? Then you see it on the media. Then you see it all over, continuously happening. You don't want that kind. Your whole goal in life is to live life quietly under the radar, and proceed to be a good citizen to wherever you are. But some people didn't see you as such, didn't see that you can do that. So they forced you to have a reaction. And even if you didn't have a reaction, they'd place one on you, right? And saying that, nobody was going to do that is easier than the action that's going to take place. Like I said, people in the past, they were some strong individuals, and people don't realize and don't give them the blessings that they should. Don't give them the leeway that they should receive in conversations like this, because you're a little spoiled, right? You didn't have to go through what they had to go through. So
7. For me, so what environment was she in? Did she feel protected? Did she feel wanted, cared for, seen? All the things. So early on, for me, it's kind of gone to a place of just humanity of it all, just like a person. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Right. I want to feel how I feel. That's me. I want the same for everybody.
Yes.
I want you to live your life. I don't want nobody to take their life. But for the most part, if it makes you happy, go do your thing. That's me.
Right.
That's who I am. I understand that.
Now, see, that's a privilege. That is a new privilege. You didn't have to have that option in the past. That's why people in the past, you had to give them a leeway because they didn't have that option. That's why I continue to say the kids of these days, and even people that may have been in the 90s, the 80s, 70s, late 70s, you're a bit spoiled. And it's not your fault. You're only going after whatever was in that time range, right?
A lot of people are not like that. A lot of people also don't have my experience.
Yeah.
That has probably made me this way.
For sure.
My upbringing, you dig? Single parent household, only my mama. Watching my mama deal with men, a safety engineer at NASA, you know, surrounded by white men, telling her she don't know what she's doing, and she telling them, you got to put the gloves on. You know what I mean? My perspective is from that's my earliest.
That's real.
I want to, because how in this moment, because we have, when we're talking about the government, we have abortion bans in Georgia, my home state, Texas, that's leading to women dying, you know, babies dying, people being less safe. And here we have folks, we've been hearing about folks being hung, lynched. We've been hearing about so many things this year that scare me as to how I got a big ass family, how all them people are gonna survive this time. And I'm thinking about, and I'm not thinking about protect black women like we've always heard it, like protect black women. Oh, that's my girlfriend, that's my, you know, don't hurt my mama, you know, don't talk about my mama, you know what I mean? But you know, when we talking earlier about a village, right, and how a village, everybody has a responsibility for each person, and each responsibility in nourishing, creating that nourishing environment, making sure there's healthy food, you know, clean water, et cetera, et cetera. What are we doing right now to learn what women need, black women particularly, and play our part in that power building?
I have a question for you guys, because this is something I've been trying to explore, and then I got more on the journey of once I got married, which is like therapy, right? And self discovery, right? Understanding that my wife had her own journey of therapy.
Thank you.
Being introduced to anger management, right?
Bro.
It's not because you punching holes in the wall, but it's because you just get certain triggers that you don't know how to handle, and you don't know how to. So I think for me, I'm going on a journey, and I'm curious if you all are going on this too, or eager to go on it, because I am learning how to be more enthusiastic about it. Because therapy saying, I don't feel like talking to somebody, I don't want to, you know. So just having that kind of, for me, that's where I'm at, and figuring out that's how I'm gonna make my wife feel safe.
Yes.
She wants to know that in any conversation, I ain't gonna just be like, all right, I gotta go outside and smoke real quick. Like, I ain't, you know, she wants to feel safe. And the more we can make them feel safe, and because you naturally, we all want to provide. Most men, you want to be the provider, you want to go out there and do the thing, but you forget about it ain't just monetarily, it ain't just hanging out with your son and your daughter. It's like, how do I have these conversations and actually know how to have them?
Yes.
Because sometimes you don't understand that. You don't get taught how to, you know, deal with impulse control and all those type of things. I would be.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. If you realize it, majority of the survivors of slavery came from it's hard to say this, came from non-intelligent people. Now hear me when I say this. When you listen to the stories of the past, of people who were who got free, and people who made it out, who made it out, and the people who were able to come and start a family or start something and do stuff. Majority of those people who were the hard workers in the cotton field, the main slave people, when they got free, they created families. So they couldn't read, write, and they didn't have time to develop the philosophical way of looking at life. They had a duty that they had to do, even through marriage. Marriage is a duty, right? So you were given a job, just as if you were on the slave, the cotton field or any kind of field, sugarcane field, whatever. You were given a job. You were given duty when it came to marriage, to create a child and continue to make the world go around, even with school. If you realize and figure out who created schools and the education system, you weren't actually you weren't bred to be emotionally entwined to making yourself better or making your partner better. You were actually created to live out your life, supply yourself and anybody around you with what they needed to survive, and accomplish the duty, which is to support this country as much as possible until your back gives out. That's it. Only now, like I said before, through advertising and more people actually being able to develop in this civilization as much as it has developed, have we now become a lot more stable in the mentality that we need to help ourselves mentally, because it was all just a physical game. I think about it like this, right? The main jobs that you could get that were quick and easy were skill jobs, right? So they took you out of the field. You go into a skill where you're a mechanic. You're welding. You're warehouses. AC. All of these things. Yes, you were smart. You had to be smart to do these things, but in a certain area, it still took more physical damage than it did mental damage. So now, fast forward to these days, mental struggle is at an all-time high because the kids of yesterday are asking what's wrong with me, and you're starting to see it more because the kids of now are asking what's wrong with our parents, which is leading them now to ask what's wrong with me. So it's all in accordance with each other. And the more we ask what's wrong with me, the more answers we're going to actually develop, because we don't want to be wrong. We definitely don't want to be wrong. We want to make sure that whatever we're giving to our children or whatever we're saying to our children is the right thing. So we're going to continue to develop our minds over and over and over again. And this is just the first stage, or I'd say the second or third stage for black men. Black men, I'm telling you, your anger is going to fade away the more you learn about yourself. And then when that anger starts to fade away and you actually learn how to speak and talk about what's going on more to yourself, you're going to be unstoppable. Reason being is because now you're gonna have you're gonna have two strengths instead of just one. And it's gonna be amazing.
Curious to know if then you all had your own therapy journey and trying to figure out how to, obviously keep your spouse safe or anybody in your life to safe. I know it's particularly talking about the women in our lives. So.
He literally said just what I was about to talk. I don't care what said. If you think you are okay, go to therapy. If you don't, I've been in therapy like 4 to 5 years, and it's bigger than, like Luke was saying, I'm going to stay in my house, but just because you stay in your house don't mean you're going to have a healthy environment, because you could stay for 20, 30 years for them kids, but if they saw anger and this, that, and the third, you can't be mad that they go out and do the same thing of what they saw. It is encouraged that if you take it self, you need to take it self. You need to have couples there. We as men, even wanting to be better, we only have the information that we've been given amongst each other, but we don't have different perspectives. It's okay to take perspectives from white people because they don't have the mindset of survival that we have. So when you hear different, you think different, you move different. You're more optimistic to know how to move within your household. It is my children. I don't care that they're only 9, 10, 7, 6. They have problems, and every black man at this table had problems. We had situations we couldn't talk to people about. Get your children in therapy. If you can't.
My point exactly. My point exactly. He just articulated exactly what I just told you just a while ago, because it's just the truth. It's a hard truth. This isn't a fact. This is a hard truth. You have to understand that the brain is a very powerful thing. Fear is a powerful thing. Propaganda is a very powerful thing. These are phenomena. These were things that were identified through trial and error of people being test subjects over and over and over again every single day. Think about it this way. You work every single day. You go to work, you come home, you go to sleep. There's somebody out there right now who probably hasn't slept for a week, and they're actually sitting there studying your sleeping patterns, trying to develop the next best thing, because they understand that the mind can be altered tenfold just by understanding how somebody sleeps, understanding just the route they take to go to work. So you're going to always be 10 steps behind if you don't have this information that's right in front of you. You're not, 9 times out of 10, the majority of people that are in this world right now are not running around with a notebook doing statistics on people that they see every day, doing stats on the changing of the route that they took, or how many times they see the same faces every single day. But there are people out there that are doing this, and they make a lot of money. They lose a lot of sleep, and they make a lot of money just to make sure they know what you're doing.
Can't afford to do it, healthcare can cover it. Get your children in therapy because they need to have that healthy outlet to have somebody. They don't always feel safe talking to mom and daddy, regardless of how well we are. They don't feel safe doing that.
I would say
It's
be careful
necessary.
about getting your therapy from white people, but
I didn't say get it. Don't get it. I didn't say white therapists.
No, I know.
I'm listening to
Just be also
just in general when they talking about.
watch when you're listening to them too. But what I do want to also say is that I think is really important is that our safety doesn't that our responsibility in Black women's safety isn't on us to protect our partner generally. It's not just us that's going to have that responsibility.
For sure.
We have to realize that honestly, statistically, the safety from a partner in America is that you're actually less safe from your partner generally.
Partner violence
is
And that's exactly what I mean by when I say statistics out here are scrambling up the brains of families and genders between male and female. You can't. Half of the people that are together nowadays probably don't even trust each other as much as they want to, just because you can go online and check something like that out. You marry this person, but ultimately you think you trust this person, then ultimately, you see something online about another couple or another married couple that just are going through the same issues that you're going through. Then boom, you got this foresight in your mind, like, oh yeah, how much can I actually trust this person? Now I'm gonna have to make a way out, or make sure that I have a way out just in case. So nothing's ever 100% anymore, bro. Shit, nothing's ever 90% anymore.
So the safety has to come from how you build an accountability outside of that relationship, outside of that family. What is that village you building, right?
Right.
And so I'm interested.
I'm listening. So like I'm just gathering information. I have a lot.
Well, I'm saying both of y'all.
No, same. Yeah.
I know,
Jump in there.
How are y'all thinking beyond like I'm gonna protect my partner? Because I think that there's a value in that. I think there's a value in I'm gonna protect my partner, ain't nothing gonna happen to my partner. At the end of the day though, when you have such big systems that are targeting you and doing their best to pull y'all apart, doing their best to divide y'all and pit y'all against each other, you can't depend on. And that's something that we're taught. Masculinity is how powerful we can be and how we can protect what we own and what we, you know what I'm saying? That is not what protection is. That's not what safety is. So I'm thinking about, outside of that, how do y'all think about safety outside of just I'm the protector? You know what I'm saying? How do we build that?
The thing that pops into my head right now as we're having this conversation is the system is capitalism, and what that looks like is we're talking about therapy, which is, I think, is very important, but we don't think about the colonial aspect of therapy, which I mentioned in our conversation earlier, and how capitalism and this individualistic view of our responsibility as well is tied to breaking up of our communities. You talked about a village. So when we're thinking about our families, like you as a father, I'm not a dad, I don't have any children, I don't plan on it. When people think, okay, I have a family and I'm raising my children, it's like mom, dad, kids. And we forget like that is a lot of pressure, and it's not supposed to be that way.
Right.
I think it's supposed to be a community of people that are helping each other, and we have not created that community. It's just like, I'm over here with my family here, I'm over there with my family there, and there's no communication. And I think that's ultimately something that's really important, is us being able to come together and create from there, create the community where everyone has a responsibility to themselves and each other.
Our natural ways have been dismantled.
Real quick,
I think that's the
do you
that's
have
the problem.
examples of what that looks like in your life?
Give me a more specific question. So
If it's not, you think about it, but just like what that protection, what that looks like. That you talked about colonial effect on therapy.
Yeah.
Now I know that, to me, I'm like, hell yeah, talk about the colonial therapy. But I also don't. I know that a lot of people don't know what the hell that means, right?
I'm saying, like, when you think about therapy and when you're going,
And I'm not asking you necessarily about that. I'm asking you generally what that protection and that outside help and so it looks like in your life.
Okay. Like growing up, I'll use my life as an example. Obviously, I grew up with both my parents, my mom and my dad. From the outside, it would look very traditional, but my mom was the one that was really holding everything down. My dad was very supportive with me when it came to providing monetarily. He also was the one that had a more formal education, so he was able to help me when I needed help with schoolwork. But when it came to my care, it was my mom that was there. And then I noticed the way that he behaved, or like his behavior around women, and how he was with my mom, how he was with his sisters and his mother, and how he was with me. So I'm, as a trans person, and as being his daughter and his little girl at the time.
What the fuck? Okay, I didn't expect that. Hold on, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that to come out. Whoa, fool me. But that fooled me.
He treated me with such care, and it was the complete antithesis in the way that he treated my mother and the way that he treated his sister. So it was interesting to see him treat my mom like shit, and then be like, no, but my sister's like, I'll kill somebody if someone messes with my sister. I'll kill somebody if someone messes with my mother. I'm like, why don't you bring that same energy to my mother?
So branch off of that. Oh wait.
I mean, and when in my process, like in my,
I hope and I wish somebody would ask him, did you see anybody? Have you ever seen anybody try to touch your mother or do anything inappropriate to your mother in front of your father, and your father didn't do anything to that person? I hope that question comes up, because that's not fair. You know what I'm saying? It's not fair.
Transition, and when I started thinking about how I wanted to show up as a man in this world, it was like I wanted to borrow that softness that he embodied when he was interacting with other women in his family, but not the way that he treated my mother, and what that partner violence looked like, and why. So I started to question what was his view of my mother, because clearly he didn't see her as family. Not really. He saw her as an incubator that gave birth to his child that he now loves and cares for. And then he has his sisters and his mother that he also cares for and wants to protect. But all the women that he would be engaged sexually with were just that. There were things that I would get pleasure, and they can make me a meal, and that was that.
Personally, you know, I grew up with all women. Like, single parent home, had no grandparents except my grandmother, no grandfather. Both had passed away before I was born. Father wasn't around, and taking care of everybody. So I've always conceded power to women. That's been my nature. I guess my nature and my nurture is because that's all that was there. So for my journey, I was in autobiographies trying to figure out where's a man and who could teach me how to do it. What does it look like? I'm looking to Sammy Davis Jr. and Sidney Poitier and you know, anybody's got an autobiography about whatever, Bill Cosby, only to get that dream shattered. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of men who've grown up in those environments are trying to figure out how to hold themselves accountable while also holding themselves hostage, right? I was trying to take up for my father not being there. I was trying to take up for my grandfathers not being there, overcompensating and not necessarily knowing exactly what my place and my position was. So I think a lot of, I can't speak for everybody, but I think a lot of black men just don't know, when they say be a man, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And not even what does that mean? That doesn't mean the same thing for this woman. That doesn't mean the same thing for this woman. You know, what is her back? You know, so I think a lot of it is double dutching. It's like, how do I give myself enough grace while also pushing myself and challenging myself to learn and listen and hear? And like I said, like, even there's not a single same perspective.
It's all different.
It's all different. We're all figuring it out, you know. And I think that's, like I say, it's like, how much grace can we give ourselves? How can we hold ourselves accountable without the guilt and the shame kicking in? Because once guilt and shame will do a whole lot. Guilt and shame will freeze you up. Guilt and shame will keep you from actually sitting in a space that actually is safe. You don't know that it's safe because you're so used to, putting on. You know, it's just, I think it's that. It's having space to even do this. This is village.
And accountability, like you said, giving yourself that grace, and then understanding when it's like, all right, tighten up. All right, it's time to say, and then educating yourself. A lot of us, we don't remember to read, right? Y'all remember them posters that they used to say read? And you got your celebrity on there, and you don't even see them posters no more. Right? You don't even see things to really push each other. Right? Educate. So the more we can kind of educate ourselves, and like you said, to your point, to the village, right? Understanding that it's there, it's obtainable, right? I just shot a movie in Nickerson Gardens, and I'm like, yo, all these kids in the project still got villages that we are taking away. You try to get away from it's tough times in the black neighborhood. It's like, man, these kids still out here playing. They still out here having a good time, right? And understanding like why or what that is for certain communities and why it's necessary for them. They don't got nobody else. So they gotta send their kids outside to say, hey, can you watch my kid today for a second? I gotta go to work, whatever. So sometimes you get above yourself and think, I don't need nobody. I done made enough money. I can pay for this nanny over here. Rather than being like, oh, nah, Luke, you want your kid to come hang out with my kid today? And then we go do this, all right, cool, we hang out. Remembering that it's all there and it's obtainable, but sometimes we push it away ourselves too, you know?
Something that I really do think about when we thinking about power, right? Because I think we misunderstand power. We've been taught all types of false definitions and notions of power. And a lot of the time, the way that we understand power is really abuse. Right? It's like we bully each other. We abuse our power over each other and say things that we're not supposed to. We bully or abuse our power over women. We abuse our power over kids. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the time, that's what we see. And I want to know just a simple question. When we're thinking about, I think with the opposite of abuse, when we think about love, and love can be powerful, love can be extremely powerful. What does it mean to love black women? And I want y'all to think about, because you you was talking about what did you say? Accountability. Holding ourselves accountable while holding ourselves hostage.
Trying to hold ourselves accountable without holding ourselves hostage.
Talking about parents and all type, so I'm just, we can tie all of that shit in. It's not a limited conversation, but, just thinking about just first to introduce it into, like, what does it mean to love black women?
Well, I mean, I got a perspective about love. One perspective about love. I think that love is uncontrollable. I think it's spontaneous. I think in its rarest form, you cannot contain it. And I think that's the first part. I think it doesn't, it belongs to everybody. And how it's received and how it's received is not up to you. But it's how you give it is up to you, you know. But I think it's first there, understanding what the power of love really is, because I think everybody has their perspective of what love is in my household, you know, what love is with my woman,
Right.
you know, as opposed to what does love mean to her? What does that mean to you? I'll tell you what it means to me. You tell me what it means to you, and let's find our way to middle ground of some sort. I think it's there. It's just trying to understand what that is, because everybody throws that shit around. It's popular.
Right.
Makes a lot of money. It's nice. Everybody wants it. Everybody's fighting for a variation of it.
Right.
It's trying to understand what that is, and I just think that love is not a thing that we can control. It just is. First.
I see this head nod going. I like that. Go ahead. I like it.
I'm going to combine like a couple of different topics, and it won't be in any chronological order, so just bear with me. One thing that Conscious will talk about is pandering, and me as a Black gay man, for me, love shows up as different. There's no sex attached to my care for Black women. So I would say for me as a child, one of the strongest women that were within my life was my grandmother. She was someone who she loved me with everything. She was someone who made sure that whenever I walk into a room, know that, you know, I'm not trying to sound cocky or nothing, but eyes will be on you. People will be listening to you. Whatever you want to be in your life, you can be, whether that be a president, a CEO, whether you own your own business, whether you be a millionaire, anything you want to do, you can do. And with that, my grandmother was someone, she was a banker. You know, she was someone who, she helped her community. All the people from Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, North Little Rock, Arkansas, she knew all the millionaires. She knew all the business owners. She told people yes, no. She ran her bank. She ran her branch. She had people pull guns out on her and trying to rob her. That same woman who left work, she was someone who raised 2 strong sons. My father's a federal investigator. My uncle, my late uncle, he was a manager of the VA for the suicide unit. She was someone who raised strong Black men. And the same Black men that she supported, the same Black man that she fed that was also her husband, also be the same people that put their thumb on their motherfucking head. You know? So what I'm trying to say is someone who can be so strong, we also live where we're in a community where traditionally, once the white man took his thumb off of us, a lot of us put our thumb on the woman. So one thing that you talked about as far as like your dad and how you treated your mother, I feel like one privilege it is to not be gay. Not gonna lie, I love being gay. Like, you know, like whether it's not a choice, it's not a choice. But in my life, what I feel is, you know, it was karma for the straight men, and also like to reject what patriarchy and masculinity look like, because I had to choose how I'm going to live my life. So, you know how you were talking about how your dad, he was real good with his mom, he was real good with his sisters.
And me as a child.
Yes. A lot of men, they just live based off of the moral code. You don't even know what your own motherfucking morals are.
Right.
A lot of you just want to have children because that's what you're taught to. You didn't get no education. You're not saying you have to get education. You have no craft. You have no skill. So all you can do is really just have fun and have children. Nigga, fuck you. And then another thing that I want to say is too, a lot of people, you know, when I said like, you know, having accolades and things like this, a lot of my friends, and especially with moving to Houston, I have such a respect because like in Arkansas, a lot of people had kids by the time that they were my age, 26. Majority of my friends, like they're between 29 to 30 to 40, you know, beautiful women, well into the careers, clocking 200,000 plus. You know, my allyship to them is supporting them whenever we're out, like I am a protector. There's a big kind of like conversation about like, oh, gay men don't want to be treated as like poodles or whatever. Realistically, I'm 6'2", I'm 200 pounds, 215. Like, it's like if a motherfucker step up to my friends, I'm going to defend them. I feel like my presence as a Black gay man is to use my masculinity, me being a man, as to not only allow myself, you know, vertical, you know, promotion within life. I don't know how to coin that the right way, but also bring up my sisters with me. And that can be whether it's education, go and get that education, whether it's in careers, because Black women are the smartest group in America. They're also the most underpaid. If you want that money, ask for it. You know, whenever you go to the interview, let them know what you want. And the same thing as far as like a job, how you can switch out a job, is no different than a man. And you know how we're talking about like the moral basis of I don't want to lose my track. The moral basis of people not knowing themselves and having babies, a lot of men don't got shit to contribute. If you can't even commit marriage to a motherfucking woman, what makes you think that she wants to commit to having a baby? That 9 to 10 months, that can fuck up that whole baby's life.
Not being supported.
Yeah, you can't even.
In the same way that she was talking about, you know, asking for that promotion and things like that, because that also, when we're when we're seen as having some more control or power over in a work environment, you know, people aren't gonna abuse us as much. People aren't gonna, supposedly, right? Where are we advocating? You know what I'm saying? In the same way of like not being prepared for fatherhood. Where are we advocating for those black women in the job, in the workplace, and making sure that they are seen in the way that they should be and empowered in the way that they should, in the same way that in fatherhood and outside of fatherhood, when you know that your homie is gonna have thinking about having kids, when you know that your brother or whoever is thinking about having kids, how are you empowering the mother that, or who could be the mother, and how are you holding your brother or your homie accountable? And what does that even mean?
The same conversation I can say like, hey, you need to ask for it 150, 200, 175, be the same conversation like, you know, like, what's he doing?
Right.
You know, like, and it's like, it might be a conversation, I think also with certain conversations, it doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, or whatever, you're still a man. Whenever a woman wants to open up and talk to you about certain things, that's when you want to talk about it. Like, you can't be overbearing, because with patriarchy, with masculinity, it's kind of like you trying to talk about something you want to talk about and shouldn't even want to talk about that. That's you exerting your masculinity over somebody. So, like, whenever my friends talk about their dating, majority of my friends are introverts. They're real kind of like to themselves. They don't like to talk about their business. When they do open up, that's when I ask, like, hey, like, you know, you have X, Y, and Z. Is he providing you what you need? Or is he just a placeholder until that right man comes? So sometimes it will be different. It just depends.
Yeah.
Because you got to be the person to say it.
Yeah, I would say too.
You got to go ahead. No, I want to see what you're going to say.
No, I'll go ahead.
And placeholder might not be the right thing. It might not be the right thing to say, but.
You know, I was just talking about, I'm 70 years old. So I come from a whole nother era than any of you Negroes is talking about. And what I've learned, and I'm not saying I'm right, I think everybody is right. Because there's so many levels to this. But most of this was laid on our parents' parents.
Yeah.
My father was born in 1915, and his
Like I said earlier, we spoiled. Ain't nothing wrong with saying that we spoiled. You know what I'm saying? Because in reality, like I said before, hey, we had to go through something. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I know what he's going to say when he breaks down what he's going to break down, right? And all of these things that everybody's listening to right now, this is from years and years and years of more propaganda being added on to what was really the problem. In reality, we didn't have a problem. We took on somebody else's problems and made it our own. If you go back and look, we had no choice but to take on somebody else's problem and make it our own, year after year after year after year. It's easy to say 400 and some odd years, but to live it, that's different.
parents were slaves. Well, his grandparents were slaves. So what I've learned is it's not your mother's fault. It's not your father's fault. It's not your fault. We were born into 450 years of post-slavery.
Hey, listen, man. Stop playing with me, bro. Stop playing with me, bro. I'm going to continuously say that. We were brought into a situation and we were forced to make it our problem. And they didn't like that people were throwing the same people that threw us into their problem didn't like that we were being forced into their problem because they had no choice but to. if you listen to the economists back in those days, man, you'll learn so much about what was going on in those times. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have a problem at first. We didn't have a problem. We were thrown into it, and it became our problem because we couldn't get away from it. Every time we tried to get away from it, we would snatch right back and say, "Get over here." And now we got layers upon layers upon layers of stress every single year from new kids. Every 9 months, it's even more stress. If you think we gonna heal ourselves anytime soon, you're dead wrong.
PTSD. I am 69, be 70 in March. I've just learned how to love. Our parents didn't know how to love. Their parents didn't know how to love. And if I could say anybody maybe had an edge, it was the women. That's why I celebrate Black women. I live with a psychiatrist, forensics detective, gangster, loving Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, who's just been patient with me to teach me how to love. But in closing on this, because I don't want to get too deep, I called my buddy, man. I said, I'm fucking up, bro, really bad. I'm fucking up. So I never been monogamous. So I don't even fucking know what it is.
What age did you become a monogamous?
Today. No, but let me just say what it is.
To know.
And we don't talk about this. We don't talk about dopamine being in a pleasant center of the brain like we talked about oxytocin is the hormone. It's called the cuddle hormone. So a lot of times we're just talking in generalities. And that's why I think what you said about counseling, because a counselor is going to get inside of this from a real, not even white people perspective, just from a scientific perspective, unless science is not wrong and the brain is not remaining what it is. So when I hurt my girl, which I've done over and over, and I commend her for even being with me, and I said it in my podcast, and I'm gonna say this and stop. I called one of my partners who's brilliant. He said, when you hurt somebody, where you leave them is where they stay. So I think our parents, our grandparents, our uncles, the people that raised us, those men who treated the women outside the house nice, but then put the thumb on the grandmama and put the thumb on the girlfriend or whoever. They are all, it all comes from out of all of that. And I think that's what makes me excited that we're going to bring the women and the uncles and we need to bring them all in here. But go ahead, what are you going to say?
The one thing that I just want to talk about in Luke, make sure I say the name right, crop this part out. Okay. What Luke brought up was like accountability. Like, yes, we can talk about, what our families did to us, all this, all that, but eventually, and I know white people try and say this and I really don't like that, but eventually it comes a point where you have to decide, how do I want to live my life? I haven't talked to my daddy in 6 years. I don't give a fuck about what my family has gone through. I know where I will go. So it's like, you can only say that for so long. Black women are tired and, kind of like putting onto them like, hey, like, you didn't do this entirely, because everybody in here, several people have talked about like, going to counseling. Have that upon yourself. Stop waiting for a woman to tell you what you need to do. Take that upon yourself.
Let me address that real quickly. For me, I didn't know fucking how to love.
Can I say one more thing? No, I have to say this, because another thing that happens is, too, you live your life for so long, and I'm not meaning no disrespect by this.
It's all right, just say it, bro.
But when you hit your 60s and your 70s, I want to be right.
Okay, but let me.
I want to live my life right. I want someone to take care of me and protect me, and that's what a lot of women have issues with.
Because I'm living it right the fuck now.
As I said,
listen to
I said 60s and 70s.
Let me say this.
Don't overtalk me.
I'm gonna fucking overtalk you because you're talking out of line.
But you're not gonna disrespect me.
You don't know what the fuck you talking.
And you know what? You see what's happening right now? What's happening right now is kind of interesting. Why, DK? Why is it interesting, DK? Well, you're seeing the ignorance of the past and the ignorance of the future play in each other's hands right here, right now. I knew it was going to happen. By the time I seen the older folk on in here of his caliber with somebody who's expressing who they are in a different mind state, you have an older gentleman who's considers himself as a man, and then you have a guy who's trying to say that he's masculine, trying to exert masculinity in a different light to people, but also has female tendencies, it was bound to erupt. There was nothing that you were going to really do to stop this. Hold on, right quick. I'm going to fix this. We're going to get this right, man. Headphones. Speaker. See if we can get it right. Hold on. We're going to get this right. I want to make sure this is right. Boom.
You don't know what the fuck you talking about.
Oh, I know.
You can't.
I
don't know it,
How did I know that this was gonna happen? Look how everybody's erupting. Look at Buddy over there trying to keep calm, all this whatnot. He's smiling, but with the hat, he's smiling. He's like, this is good. Cause he just mediated. This is good. This is gonna be great information. This is great take back. Cause even though that they're sitting down around this table right now, trying to figure this out, trying to be grown men. Everybody's sitting here trying to just doing their own thing. All of this is being studied right now for somebody else's usage. That's what I've been looking at.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Fuck out of here. I'm living. You can't tell me what the fuck I'm living, nigga. I'm living it right now. You cannot fix no shit that you don't even know is
I
happening.
think there's a misunderstanding.
No, but he's generalized. You can't. Listen, bro. Let me stop. This is what it is. Let's get to the truth of this shit. You can't fix no shit unless you meet somebody who is on another level to help you elevate to understand. I'm not indicting anybody. I'm telling you what the shit is. You can't fix some shit that you don't know about, bro.
Yeah.
You can't. And then you get there at 69 or 70 and say, I thought I was being loved all this time. That's what our parents have gone through, and that's why we all so fucked up right now.
You asked, how do we love black women?
Yeah.
That's right here. Trust black women and listen to black women because they know more than we do what it is that they need.
I don't think that's true either.
As men,
there's a lot of black women who don't know how to love.
I'm not talking about what they know how to love. I'm saying what they need as far as the
I
reproductive.
get that.
That shit was spicy, nigga. That shit was spicy.
Also, if we're gonna use our privilege and power as men in society, how do we show up and be accountable? Like you said, the way to be accountable is to dismantle patriarchy, because patriarchy makes it so that men have the power and women do not.
But you can't get there unless you listen to him. We got to go, and you may not agree. We gotta go to therapy. I should be in therapy right now. My girl should be in therapy. We all come from generations and generations, and you can't motherfucking sit here and tell me what I'm going through at 70. I just realized, but listen to what I'm saying. No, let's be good, bro. It's not gonna get out of control. This is real shit. Bro, this is real shit. I'm telling you, you can't love a queen. Some of these girls out here in Queens because their daddies wasn't there. If your daddy ain't there from 12 to 25, you going down a rabbit hole. Promiscuity, drugs. Gotta read more. Gotta stop getting so fucking defensive and read more, because I read. I know what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm living it. Until you meet a real motherfucking queen who had to figure out her trauma, you can't even learn how to love a black woman.
So here's one thing.
That's what we gotta start.
Here's one thing with because I think I
got passionate.
You can't wait until
Man,
you
gotta hold yourself accountable.
So
if you figure it out.
Hold on. Because here's the thing.
If you figure it out, bro.
But you gotta let other people talk. Hold on.
No, it's all good. That's why I can't do this, bro.
I got you.
I'm on. You can't.
That's where that passion come in. But he got passionate.
The arguments are important. This is how black men talk to each other. So I want to make sure. This is what I want to make sure we're framing.
See, they just got comfortable around everybody. Now is comfortable. Shoulders are dropped now. Everything was tense the first couple of minutes of this guy, and but everything. Now we're finna get some real good information.
Properly, because a lot of the time we think, because you're talking about your privilege and your power and how you use it, a lot of time we've been taught our power is how we control a situation, and we try to control that situation by dominating it, by shutting other people down, by overpowering them. And I think that is something that, I mean, monogamy, just to be real, is not the end all be all. That's not the best. It's the only way. It's not the only way to live, and it's not just men or women. It's literally, there are other ways to be. And so some people value monogamy more. That doesn't mean that you have sin and you dead and you evil if you haven't been. But the problem is, most of the time, the way that we're living is by telling somebody that we are monogamous when we're not. Hold on. That's lying.
But let's
hold on.
Bro.
So that's dishonesty.
We can't talk about monogamy. No, we gotta talk about.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm agreeing with you. Hold on.
Men are not. First of all, this is not our culture. In Africa, it's polygamy.
No.
Men are not monogamous biologically, is it?
Some people do believe that monogamy is the most healthy thing.
97% of married men cheat, bro.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
85% of married women cheat. Nobody is being monogamous.
We've also been taught to lie, and we've also been taught to dominate and control. So I think there are other perspectives here that are valuable in holding that stuff accountable, because we were talking about how to hold each other accountable in this,
Can
right?
I add something to that?
In talking about trusting Black women and loving Black women, how do we hold each other accountable in that? How do we make promises that we can keep? How do we say that, make sure that we're surrounding each other with people who are going to check us when we're wrong, right? And how do we know that who knows what's right and what's wrong in that, right?
I think it's
even what I read, a lot of the time what we read is wrong. A lot of the time the books that they give us to educate ourselves are wrong. So I do want to hear more perspectives on literally how to hold ourselves accountable in that. How do we're talking about trusting Black women. How do we trust Black women, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. And what does that trust accountable to? Sure. What books, because a lot of the books that we're given in school are lies that tell us the opposite of how to trust Black women. That tell us the opposite of how to hold each other accountable and make sure that we understand what is right and wrong and what each other's perspectives are. So I love the energy of, I'm not afraid of the argument. I'm not afraid of the fight. But it does have to be, but I do want to make sure that we take it to a place where we come out here more powerful than we did when we came.
I think we got to listen to Luke. I think we got to listen to Luke. He's talking about therapy. This is what he's saying.
Luke done became. We got to listen to Luke. Go ahead, Luke.
In order for us to trust Black women, we gotta fix ourselves. 100%. They gotta go fix themselves, and it starts with Black people don't like to go to counseling. Okay, they need to go to fucking therapy. That's it.
Jay brought that up, and I agree that we must talk, but I do also understand the value in us talking, our perspective.
We got that part. But how do we find solutions?
Well, the only thing is we're not gonna get to a solution because there is still something on the table. There's still something on the table, and we gotta.
What's on the table?
The problem is your point of view. No, his point of view.
What's on the table to me is how do we as Black men?
You said listen to Luke.
No, but I'm just interjecting, bro. Y'all said interject.
Well, interject.
Listen, I'm saying, how do we help Black women? I'm telling you.
Well, first we gotta help ourselves.
Right. But I'm saying is,
if we can't figure out, what love really means, what love looks like to us, what love has been to us, what have we been taught about love?
We come from generations of no love.
Right. But does patriarchy come with accountability?
No, I think we gotta go back to
the definition of patriarchy is when we have systems of domination for men. Right now, I think we're not doing a good job of naming the system that literally incentivizes us to be on some fuck shit, or incentivizes us to always want to be dominated in power.
Patriarchy celebrates the man.
But I think in our conversation right now as Black people, a lot of times when you hear the word patriarchy, you think about the word patriarchy, you think about how we're taught in Christianity to be patriarchs. So a lot of us have a hard time thinking about leadership and thinking about how that leadership comes out in fucked up ways. I.e., I want to be a patriarch like Father Abraham, therefore patriarchy is good. Patriarchy is not good. The system of domination for women is not good. But a lot of us buy into that.
So I got a question I want to ask you.
What's your question?
How do we unlearn that? I think we unlearn that by listening to what he's saying.
About what specifically?
It's therapy, so we can go understand all of it.
But listen, I want to be clear. Right now, we're talking about a system of power.
Right.
If you think interpersonally going to therapy is going to deconstruct the system of power, no.
I don't say. I'm not saying that.
But this is what we get at. Right now, we're talking about trusted black women.
Colonial.
There's a system I'm saying that goes against it.
Aspect to it.
Right. But
yes.
I'm not. As well with this early, don't go to no white therapy.
No, but hold on. If we talking about therapy,
Let's talk about therapy.
This is therapy.
Ain't gonna lie. JL Fonz finally got them boys to drop their shoulders and start talking. They're actually talking. Now it feels like a cookout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. This is therapeutic.
us, looking like us,
Yes.
different ages, different experiences, us. It's gonna be ugly. It's not gonna be cute.
Yeah.
We ain't professional therapists and nothing, but we are listening.
Okay,
hold on.
And I think that's the point where we
And we
gotta
have to stay there.
Right here is
We
just
gotta stay
listen.
there. Stay there.
Listen and find and wait for it. Cause sometimes it's just the listening. I think that's the whole part of this whole thing, because we don't listen because we live in this space of feeling like we know everything, and we are not the smartest people in the room.
I think it goes a step further than that.
Go for
I
it.
think we're too ashamed to admit when we're wrong. And so when we go, so like when I'm gonna say something. Tressie Cottom, credible writer, sociologist. She says we are smarter when we listen to black women, not because all black women are right, but because all black women deserve to be heard, right? And when we're so caught up in the process of listening is love. That's how we love black women, by listening to them, right? Again, everything they said isn't necessarily right, but they do deserve to be heard.
So let me address that.
Hold on, let me finish. Let me back it up. In doing so, we can help dismantle patriarchy because we're leading with, hold on, let me finish, brother. We're leading with listening. And if we lead with listening, that means we're not listening so that we can respond. We're listening so we just listening to understand, which means you might have to ask another question. If you speak, it is to ask another question,
And not censor yourself.
so you can get more information from the source.
Okay. And so I started out
really quick with that patriarchy, because we keep saying patriarchy and you were saying without centering yourself, and I think that that's really important, because I wouldn't know. I'll just be real. If me being young nigga in the street, I wouldn't be
I
like.
wouldn't say young, but
When I was, I'm not saying now. I understand what it is now, but I'm saying when I was, I wouldn't hear somebody talk about dismantling patriarchy and be even attracted to the conversation or even know what that means, right? And so what I would like you to go a little bit deeper into what does that even mean? Because for me, the way I'm thinking about it is the way that we've been taught wrong about our power. That we are supposed to, that we have some sort of privilege in certain, in some situations, that we have a little bit more power than somebody else, and that we abuse that power. We use that power to try to control the situation in our favor, when we should be listening to other people, when we should be honoring their existence and centering their freedom, their liberation. You know what I'm saying? So what does that mean to y'all? What does that even mean to dismantle patriarchy? What is that? Why is it harmful? And I'm not putting that necessarily on you, but whoever wants to.
Can I go?
What does that mean? Yeah.
So when someone comes to you and they already know what you possess as a person, like, for example, like a lot of doctors. Once I feel like a lot of black men get higher education, a lot of people want to get treated like a bitch. That's the truth. Like, more accolades, get treated like a bitch. Like, you want, like,
Take care of me.
Yes, take care of me. Like, or like, like, I'm the prize. I'm the prize.
You talk about when you become rich and famous.
You don't even got to be rich or famous. It could be you going like for 12 years in academia.
That language
I'm trying to understand you.
What?
Like
treated like a bitch.
Yeah, like a bitch.
That's how they want to be treated. Some men
But they want to be like a prima
that.
donna.
But think about the
That's
way
relative
that
to
you're saying
patriarchy.
that, and
Yeah,
what we're
that's
talking about
good.
now
That's
around
good.
censoring like black women and their experiences, and even the saying treated like.
I'm not making that connection. Bitch to me is subservient. Men can be bitches. Women can, like I shouldn't say that.
But you're a man.
Yeah, but
so you being called a bitch is not the same as a woman being called a bitch, especially a black woman being called a bitch.
I feel like the black women that listen to this, they're gonna know what I'm talking about. They're gonna know what I'm talking about.
As long as we put, because I think it's important. I hear what you're saying.
I'm
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get it.
what I think that it's important that we talk about all of it.
Oh,
Yes.
so this is
And
what I'm saying.
clarify.
So like, when
Clarify.
we're speaking in this way, this is how the dismantling happens. Because the language and how we say things is very important.
Sure.
And that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So like I'm not saying like don't say it, because I'm like I say bitch all the time. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. But it's essentially about when we're talking about the systems of power, and when we talk about dismantling patriarchy, and we talk about masculinity and what that means and
Yeah.
what that looks like to us. And I could say even to y'all as someone as cis men, because my perspective of it is going to be completely different from how you all experienced it, having come from a different place. So like when growing up, I have two brothers, and the way my father taught my two brothers what it would be to be what it meant to be a man and how to show up and what masculinity meant, it was always domination, it's power, it's strength. And it was never really
Softness.
like protection, not softness. So I wanted to combat the idea that being a good man, or a man,
It's a mixture.
is being like or men are natural protectors or natural providers. I don't think that's the case at all. Men are not. You can't be a natural protector and provider when you are the one that's causing harm.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are you protect? You're protecting. So you say you're protecting women.
You said that so eloquently.
You're saying
So simple too.
He said it the way I was trying to say it.
No,
you're protecting yourself.
Then he be doing this motherfucking hands like this, like I'm gonna fuck you up.
So that is largely how we got it wrong.
And then we talk about masculinity. So when we're teaching young men,
See that?
and
See that? You see that? You saw that just a while ago? You see that just a while ago? You see his face right now, how happy he is right now? Do you see that? Take that into consideration. Take that into consideration. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
young men boys.
I think we on to something here.
Yeah.
I think we.
Take that into consideration, man. He like, yeah, I like to see that.
On to something.
What masculinity is, it's always an antithesis to femininity and
Exactly
womanhood.
right.
So then it's just like, oh, to be a man and to be strong and to show up means you don't be like a woman. So
Right,
being a woman
right.
is less than. It's always going to be down.
Right.
So let's go back to what we were talking about at the table. Listen,
Right.
what I was trying to say to you was this.
I think.
Out of everybody in this motherfucking room, I'm 70 years old. My mother committed suicide when I was 4. My father was a dysfunctional alcoholic. I'm just learning. Like you said, I think when you learn, you gotta do better.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to do better. So we talking about trusting black women, because that's why the fuck I'm here.
Right.
And I don't like doing this kind of shit.
Right.
Because my brain is on another level, because I live with the boss. I live with a queen who's a boss, that if you saw me, and I'm just saying this, and that's why I got emotional, because I'm living it right now. Every 18 seconds, a woman gets beaten in this country by a man. When a woman is killed, it's by the domestic partner. So it's a lot of things that y'all are talking about that's true, that in order for us as black and Latino men, or you Latin?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm half Latin.
Head ass.
I'm just saying.
No, but I'm just saying, what I'm saying, nobody at this table is wrong. In order to love black women, we gotta figure out where we are as men and how to get away from what you said, that patriarchal kind of bullshit that we've been taught, like your dad, be nice to everybody else, but got his thumb on your mother's head. That's not love.
So what happens when you come to a woman that you don't see as a queen?
Okay,
Hold on, real fast. Right now, we just got done doing the No Kings rally, right?
Right.
Talking about kings, talking about Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying? We keep on talking about a queen, it automatically places a hierarchy. So what do you do to the women you see as peasants, and or what do you do when a man does not see your woman as a queen?
Okay,
I think
so
that's a part of the issue of respect for women.
Real quick.
Black women are queens in the beginning.
Wait. So I think that
This
there
is
was
important.
something. I think there was something really important that you bringing up and that you bringing up.
That queen, that king and queenship is a very difficult thing. You're demanding a certain kind of respect while telling everybody else that you just want to be able to do whatever you want to do. That ain't gonna work. How's that gonna work in this times? You telling your wife that she's a queen, but then you gonna tell every other black lady that they queens. If every female is a queen and every man is a king, there's bound to be war. I don't think they understand what kings and queens were back in the day.
When we're talking about a
I need a drink.
When we're talking, well, here you go.
We gonna take one together. We gonna take one together.
I stopped drinking for a year. I stopped drinking for a year.
So I think there's something really important.
Focus on it.
How do we understand who taught us how to have power, how to exercise our power?
Let's
go.
This is what I was saying, guys. Listen, try to hear me. I hate to sound like the grandfather, but I am. Is when you meet a woman who maybe has gone through trauma and has come out of that trauma and has fixed herself in terms of her tone and respect to a man, and she's gentle, she disarms you. But if you never seen that, you don't even know how to react to it. And in the beginning, when I met my girl, I was so fucking mean, and I was tough, and I was all out there, and I was all over the place, and I was disrespectful, and whether it's dopamine or oxytocin, I put all that shit in her face, and I crushed her. This really happened. And I called my partner, and one of my partners was a thug. He said, fix it. My other partner said, when you hurt someone, where you leave them is where they stay. If we talk about being here to trust black women, we cannot trust black women unless every man that I know, and I'm still struggling with being monogamous in the streets because I'm well known, is we gotta start with, I believe, therapy, or at least reading and going into ourselves, holding ourselves accountable, and say, yeah, I fucked up. Because the first thing, what am I calling my buddy? I said, man, she had my phone for you a fucking month. He said, nigga, just don't say you did it.
We gotta meet people where they are. Sometimes I think you're.
All right, I like this conversation. There was a lot of gems in this conversation. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. If you want to watch it, all you gotta do is look it up. It's the same thing on my title, minus the reaction. This is great information, great news. Definitely needed. There are some points that they are missing, which probably later on they're gonna actually go and go into. I'm gonna watch the rest of it on another date by myself, but this is definitely interesting, and I liked what I saw here, and I hope that they continue doing stuff like this here because it's important, not only in the sense of just protecting black women, other topics as well, because they definitely need it. It's definitely important. Like the video if you did. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions.